Well, welcome to episode number 78 of The Whiskey Coach. The reason I know it's episode 78 is because I actually had to go back and review what my thoughts were on an old vintage of this Evan Williams single barrel. This year, or this time, we're doing the 2010 vintage. Way back in episode number 39, I reviewed the 2004 vintage. So, I counted episodes and realized this is 78. Which, by the way, it feels like I've done 278. So I got some work to do, guys. You haven't seen the last of me. So yeah, back to Evan Williams. We're doing a review on something, a vintage. I guess that shows we've been doing this for a while now. A vintage, 6 years later. Now, it isn't 6 years because Evan Williams is now releasing new years more than once a year in terms of their vintage date. How will that make sense, you ask me? I'll tell you. Back in the 2004 review that I did, they were releasing 10-year-old bourbon, and really from 1986 on, when this bottling started, when this line started, it was always 10-year-old bourbon. This one is not even quite 8 years old. July 23rd, 2010 is when it was barreled on, and it was bottled on 6/11/18. So not even quite 8 years old. So as you can see, 2009, 8, 7, 6, 5, that wasn't 6 years. But still a great value. Speaking of old reviews, I want to talk to you guys about something for a second. It's so funny. I went back and watched this review, and I said something that I think 2003 was when they had started or something like that. I don't know where the hell that came from. I said, I slipped and said Elijah, when talking about Elijah Craig, I said Elijah Williams. I think that was just a slip of the tongue. I certainly knew who Elijah Craig was and the bottle, the bourbon Elijah Craig. But it's funny, I look back at some of the things I didn't know, and I kind of roll my eyes and say, oh my God, that's embarrassing. But you know what? I'm leaving them up there for posterity and humbling purposes, if nothing else. I've come a long way. Let's just put it that way. So it's been a fun journey with you guys. So we'll start the new chapter here this evening. Also tonight, we'll be cracking into this bottle for the first time yet again. Also wanted to remind you guys why it is I do that. Yeah, it's fun to review something with you guys for the first time that I've never tried and get that kind of, live reaction to my thoughts. But it's also nice to not have to worry about oxidation of the spirit, deterioration, not proper aging, and then review something for really not fairly. Now, the tricky part about that is sometimes things get much better 2 or 3 months after opening. Typically after a year or so, it'll typically get worse, if anything. But I do that for consistency purposes, or at least I try to do that as often as I can for consistency purposes. But yeah, we're going to have that experience again tonight. So back into the spirit. Evan Williams, his Heaven Hill brand. You probably have seen this. This is a highly available bottling across the country. Again, like I said, this year's edition is almost 8 years old. And when I say this year, this is what's on the shelves currently today, 2010. Mash bill on this guy is 78% corn, 10% rye, and 12% malted barley. So interesting that malted barley is and that's that Heaven Hill mash bill that consists of all the Evan Williams, all the Elijah Craig, the Heaven Hill, some of the Heaven Hill stuff. A wide variety of their bourbons have that mash bill. From a proof perspective, we are looking at 86.6, so a pretty light bourbon in terms of proof. Very affordable, however. $29.99 is what I'm paying for it now. And again, I went back and reviewed the old one that I talked about, and at that point it was 26 bucks. So it's come up a couple bucks in a couple years, but still a very, very good value. I mean, outside of them, bottling it at a low proof at 86.8, 86.6, I mean, that's a really good value to still, you're still getting a single barrel from one of the finest bourbon producers in the world, and you're still getting an age statement, and you're getting it for less than 30 bucks. I mean, That's a pretty amazing value. Now, the breaking news in bourbon today, and in Heaven Hill specifically today, is, stay with me here for a second, this guy going away. We just reviewed this against Evan Williams Bottled and Bond. This one's going away, so all of a sudden, this is right now the hot commodity. And this will be so interesting to see where this goes long-term price-wise. If this becomes collectible and traded, it's already, I've seen it trading for as high as $45 to $50 a bottle on the gray market. But that'll be really interesting to see where this goes. But guys, hey, if you want to splurge and spend 30 bucks, you're gonna get an older spirit, not 100 proof, 86 proof, nicer bottles, you know, available everywhere. So Heaven Hill's got plenty to offer. But it's just so funny, that FOMO, that fear of missing out that occurs with all of us whiskey guys when something's going away, you know. But anyways, we'll jump right into this. We're gonna crack this signature black wax that is Evan Williams single barrel. And while I'm doing that, I'll tell you guys something. I am 2 bottles away, 2 vintages away from completing my vertical. I have every year except 1986, the first bottle, which is, I've seen sell $500 to $700, $800 bucks. I mean, maybe if I have to at some point, I'll pop on that. I'd like to maybe trade for it. And then the 1989. But I have 87, 88, 90, on up to 2010. So that'll be a pretty fun accomplishment once I finally knock that off. And I don't really know how it happened. It just kind of happened. I love that sound. Nice clean pour. They just do a really good job again of the presentation on this. Your little book, your invitation to the Bardstown Bourbon Club, or whatever the hell it's called. And the year. They do a really nice job with this. I wanted to commend them for that. Let me cleanse my palate here from my last review. This is the second one of the night. All right, on the nose. She's spicy. She's spicier than I remember, which is interesting because it's a low rye mash bill. Anise, little black licorice there. Fruits, like tropical fruits, like a grilled mango, grilled pineapples. Like red vines a little bit, Twizzlers, that kind of thing. Lively, very lively, much livelier than I remember, and that could be the result of it being a couple years younger. Smells much more alcoholic than 86.6 proof. Now, it's funny. I didn't know what I was doing a few years ago when I reviewed that 2004. But that 2004 of the recent vintages is one of the higher respected vintages of the bottle. You know, in recent years, you know, once you get to the 90s, they're all very collectible and highly sought after. But that 2004 is a highly respected bottle, and I didn't know. I just picked it up off the shelf and drank it. Now it's, you know, 75, 80 bucks in the secondary markets I've seen. So it's kind of funny. So this is my first, I want to say this is my first dabble into Evan Williams single barrel since then. I own them all, but I haven't opened any. I've heard there's been some degradation in terms of quality. I'm hoping not as much as I've heard, but my gut's telling me with this nose, if it tastes like the nose smells, it's different. It's different. So without further ado, let's dive in. Oh man. I guess, do I need to go on? Do I need to give a score? Do I need to talk tasting notes? Did my aw man give it away? It feels broken. It's very light. You almost taste the water that they cut it with. It finishes extremely quick. There's no viscosity. There's no oily. There's no there's no spice, there's no punch, there's no oak, there's no vanilla. I mean, I shouldn't say no, but it feels diluted. It feels rushed. It's tannicky on the back, which doesn't really make a ton of sense, but it is. You know, the sweetness of the woods haven't got a chance to take over and kind of mellow down the alcohol. For an 86.6 proof spirit, I should be drinking this like water. It should be completely not offensive. It's not that. Man, I gave that 2004 a 7.5. And maybe if I reviewed it today, I would give it a 7.5 as well, or maybe I was just, you know, a little more naive. But again, I really would like to go back and try that and maybe buy another bottle to see if it was that good, or if, again, I was just didn't know what I was doing. But boy, spoiler alert, this is not going to get a 7.5. It just feels like it's just not right. Like it's really hard to explain. I told you some of the things. It's light. It's a little sharp. There's just not much depth. It's gone as soon as you swallow it. I feel like if this was at 96.6, it'd be much better. Sorry guys, Evan Williams. It's not disgusting. You know, I've had much worse, but I remember it being so much better, and I'm confident that pre-2004 at least that I can speak to was much better. This one, I was prepared to talk about how much of a value this is. I'm not. I don't know if I can say that anymore. I would say all day you stick with Evan Williams. Elijah Craig, I just talked about confusing those two. Elijah Craig, Henry McKenna, in that $30 range, you're talking Heaven Hill products, those are superior. So on this one, I'm going to give one last taste. 5.1. Yeah, 5.1. Expected much better, but unfortunately that's reality, and I give it to you straight, unlike this this diluted version of Evan Williams. So thanks guys again for watching. Sorry this one was a little longer, but I had a lot to talk about in terms of the history of this and my reviews and this and that and the other. Got back in the old ways a little bit, telling some stories. So as always, and until next time, until episode 79 hits, glasses up.